So we have done with Basel norms. Any doubts in that? See, when we discuss about Basel norms, it's all about, increasing the capital or equity, right? So capital adequacy ratio or capital to risk weighted asset ratio. So the ratio that is increased to 8%, and in case of Indian banks it is 9% by RBI, means you need to increase what? You need to increase or you need to infuse more capital. And if you see the private banks, it is very easy for them because they can issue FPO, follow on public offer. So initial public offer, and then after that is when they are raising the money from the public for the first time, initial public offer, and then follow on public offer. Once the company is listed, still if you need to raise money, you can go for follow on public offer, and we will discuss all this in the capital market. Okay, so it is easy for the private banks, but what is the problem with the government banks or the public sector bank with increase in this capital requirements? The problem is the government have to infuse money, right? Government cannot go for FPO. Why government cannot go for FPO? Any logic? What is the problem if government go for FPO? Yeah, that is actually similar to disinvestment, right? So the government shareholding will come down. So if it is coming down below 50%, then it is no more a public sector bank. So government cannot go for FPO because the shareholding will come down. So that is one of the most important problem, and you can see in every budget from there onwards, 2015, 2016, 2017, the deadline was 2019. So you can see some fund is actually allocated in each budget, like 25,000 crore, 10,000 crore, etc. Okay, to maintain this capital requirement. So this is actually increasing the fiscal deficit also. So this was a problem when it comes to the public sector bank. Now if you see the reason why the credit rating of Indian banks are decreasing, when you talk about credit rating, why it is decreasing, if you see, there are two reasons. First one, inadequate tier 1 capital. So tier 1 capital, there was a problem. So I have told you, if tier 1 capital is less, what does that indicate? There is a chance of bankruptcy, right? So tier 1 capital to be increased, and it has to be more so that you can prevent the banks from bankruptcy. That's the importance of tier 1 capital. And second reason why the credit rating of the banks are increasing is because the increase in NPAs. Okay, so here in this session I will be talking about NPAs and the associated concepts with NPA, like special mention accounts and everything we will discuss here. So these are the two main reasons why the credit rating of Indian banks are low. Okay, so now you can give a heading, increase in NPAs of bank. NPA means non-performing asset. We have discussed the definition of this yesterday or day before yesterday. If the principal or interest payment is not paid for more than 91 days, okay, more than 90 days, that becomes NPA account. So that we have already discussed. You write 91 or more days default. Okay, so NPA is actually 91 or more days default on principal or interest. So there are classification. You can write now the classification of NPA. Classification of NPAs. A, under which A, substandard assets. Substandard assets. Substandard assets. Okay, so under that you can write one line, substandard assets remain NPA for less than or equal to 12 months. So those cases which remain NPA for less than or equal to 12 months, less than or equal to 12 months. Okay, so that is the first concept. Then B, doubtful assets. Doubtful assets. You can write under that, remain NPA for more than 12 months. More than 12 months. Okay, remain NPA for more than 12 months. Third one, C, you can write loss assets. Loss assets remain NPA for more than 12 months. So that is the same as that of the doubtful asset. First condition, more than 12 months NPA okay, and considered as non-recoverable, plus considered as non-recoverable by the auditors, but it is not written off. So here you can see here what is the commonality between doubtful assets and loss assets. Both are more than 12 months. Here also more than 12 months. Here non-recoverable. Okay. So here there is a hope that it may be recoverable, like there may be some collateral. Okay, so if you pledged house or property, even though it is doubtful asset, but still there is a possibility of recovering that. Here there is no possibility of recoverability, like maybe educational loan, or there might not be any collateral. Okay, so there is no possibility of recovery, but it is not written off. Here, not written off from the balance sheet. D. Next category, you write bad debt.
So what is written off?
Written off means you are not even now going to consider. This is out from balance sheet. It will be cleared from the balance sheet.
Okay.
So we have written it is non-written off.
It is not written off. In this case, it is not written off. It is included in the balance sheet. It is more than 12 months and non-recoverable, but still it is there in the balance sheet.
Okay.
So if it is there in the balance sheet, means that is actually a stress on the bank. So even if it is non-recoverable, you understood that, but still it is there part of the balance sheet. It is not written off. Okay. Next
How to categorize?
Which categorization?
So as in whether to write it off or not. How is it categorized?
Yeah, we will discuss that. Next category, you write bad debt. These are the loans which are written off. Okay, see, there will be auditors. They will conduct the inquiry and they will see whether there is any possibility of recovery or not. So here non-recoverable, and after some time it will be automatically written off. Then in that context it will be bad debt.
Okay.
Yeah, we will discuss further. I will discuss further more later. It is coming. That discussion is anyway coming. I will show it with the balance sheet, then there won't be any confusion. Okay, now write one more case, special mention account. So that is done, that 4 main cases are done. Now you might see sometimes special mention account. Special mention account. Okay, SMA. These are bank loans on which there is a default up to 90 days. Up to 90 days. So here there is a default up to 90 days. So what is the difference between NPA and SMA?
So SMA is less than 90 days and NPA is more than 90 days.
Yeah, both are default. But in case of SMA, it is less than 90 days, up to 90 days, less than or equal to 90 days. Okay. And if it crosses 90 days, more than or equal to, greater than or equal to 91 days is your NPA. So both are default. So it can be 1 month default, 2 month default, 3 month default will come under SMA. And further SMA can be categorized. I'll show you that categorization also. So within SMA there are classification. First one, SMA 0. SMA 0. So you can write under SMA 0 default of up to 30 days. Up to 30 days. Okay, and signs of weakness. So 1 month EMI or principal that you are not paying. So that is showing the sign of weakness. Okay. So default of up to 30 days and sign of weakness. So what about SMA 2, SMA 1?
60 days.
Default up to not 31 to 60 days. 31 to 60 days. So SMA 2 will be 61 to 90 days. Okay. Now write one more case here, restructured loans or assets. Restructured loans or assets. Under which you can...
So I have a question regarding SMA.
Tell me.
So this SMA, is that something very specific to the Indian case, or is that a part of the Basel norms?
Pardon? Come again?
Is that a part of this SMA, the special mention accounts, is that a part of the Basel norms, or is it something specific to the Indian context?
No, this is just different concepts related to NPA. We are discussing about NPA. So we have done with Basel norms and I'm discussing about NPA. So these are various concepts which is related to NPA. So these issues are also being taken care. SMA, you should start noticing any loans after SMA. From this stage onwards, you should start noticing the bank loan so that it won't become NPA. So that is why different concepts are introduced like this, SMA 0. The loans will be classified. If it is this SMA 0, SMA 1, SMA 2, the loans will be classified like this.
Okay.
Not
Yes,
part of
thank you.
not part of this Basel norms.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So restructured loans we have written or not? Restructured, yeah, you're right. It is a bank loan whose terms and conditions are relaxed. Whose terms and conditions are relaxed by the bank to accommodate the concerns of a defaulting borrower. To accommodate the concerns of a defaulting borrower. Okay, so for example, you have taken a loan, 10 lakh loan you have taken, and you are paying EMI for some time. Let's say 2 years you paid EMI, and after that you are not able to pay your EMI. You might have lost your job or some issues. You are not able to pay the EMI, so your loan will go like NPA. So what the bank will do is, let's suppose this loan was for 5 years. Let's assume that it is a car loan. So the bank will restructure now. Rest of the 3 year. Bank can restructure, let's say 10,000 is the EMI that you are paying. Okay, so bank can restructure this 3 year, further can be increased to 5 year, despite the fact that you paid 2 years. Now again, the loan actually was for 5 year. Now after 2 year, 3 years are pending, still it can be increased to 5 year. That's what restructuring. So this 10,000 will come to like 6,000, something like that. So this will be affordable, and then you will be in a position to pay, so that there won't be a default. So that's what restructuring of the loan. Okay. Now what do you mean by stressed assets of the bank? Stressed assets. Next term you write stressed assets. Stressed assets. The NPA plus restructured loans. Restructured loans. So this include the stressed assets. Okay. Now next term, one more term related to bank. Clean up balance sheet. Clean up balance sheet. Okay. So what does this mean? You can write remove bad quality of assets. Remove bad quality of assets. So we have discussed the balance sheet already. Yesterday we have discussed there will be liability, and what are the liability? The deposits, all this borrowings, etc. Then what are the assets? Assets I have told you cash, right? This is nothing but the equity. So shareholders we will write here. So cash we will write here. So cash, then loans. And this loan is what we have categorized like SMA, right? SMA 0, 1, 2. Okay, and then NPA. Then we will go for substandard. Okay, then there will be a doubtful and loss assets. Okay, now to clean up, there are two options. What are the two options available for cleanup of balance sheet? Either you need to write off. So this loss assets is also now part of assets. Okay, so this is non-recoverable. You know that this is non-recoverable. So either what you can do is you can write off. So two options available to you is write off. So that is one way in which you can clean up your balance sheet. But the problem is when you write off this loan, the owner's capital will come down, right? Because that loss is from the shareholder. So owner's capital will come down. So capital will come down. So it will affect the tier 1 capital, right? So it will affect tier 1 capital. So that is a problem because especially this Basel norm is talking more about tier 1 and RBI is also making it so stringent. So there will be a problem in writing it off if you go for write off. This can be the problem. Capital will come down and tier 1 capital will reduce. So the shareholders have to infuse more money. Whatever you are writing it off, you have to infuse that much money. The second option is you have to sell this to ARCs. Okay, you have to sell this to ARCs, and I've told you already you can sell it to ARCs at a discount rate. And what the ARCs will do, ARCs will recover this loan through legal terms, legal channel. So it may take some long time, but they will try to recover. And this difference between whatever they are recovering and the price at which they have bought is actually their return. Okay, so these are the two ways in which you can go for cleanup of balance sheet. Whatever, I think bank will prefer which one. Mostly bank will go for this option. Even if you are giving a discount, at least bank is getting something. If you write off, you are losing completely. Okay, and you need to infuse more capital to maintain the tier 1 capital. So that is actually a problem in writing off the loans, and that is the reason why even if there is a loss asset, banks won't write off just like that. Okay. Next next concept you can write, asset quality review. Asset.
Sir, I have one question.
Yeah.
Sir, when does the ED comes into picture when it's out of control of ARC?
Which ED?
Enforcement Directorate.
Enforcement Directorate have no role here.
So we see many times in the news, like when there is an NPA, ED comes into picture and they...
No. Enforcement Directorate and NPA have no connection.
So, for example, in the case of Nirav Modi, ED was handling, right?
That is because of a criminal case. No, that is because of bank fraud, money related issue. That is actually related to a criminal case, not because of NPA.
So, even he is a bank defaulter, right?
Bank default, but that is a different case of default. Okay, that is actually a criminal offense. Not all bank defaults, like you have taken a loan and educational loan, that is not a criminal default. That is a civil issue only. But this is actually a criminal case, so that's why confiscation of property and everything, other property, etc., is actually going on. Okay, that has to do something related to black money, money laundering. All those issues are there. So Enforcement Directorate will come into picture if there is a money laundering. Okay, so all those issues. Not here, not NPA related case. Okay. So we have written what? Asset quality review. AQR. So you write there, this survey is actually conducted by RBI. You write there, it is a special survey conducted by RBI. It is a special survey conducted by RBI to ensure proper classification of assets. Proper classification of assets. Okay. Especially NPAs of the bank. So by 2018 Jan, if you see, there were around 7 lakh crore was the NPA. Okay, so NPA is around close to 7.5% of total loans. And if you talk about public sector bank, it is more than that. It is around more than 10%. More than 10% of the loan is the NPA. So 1/10 is actually going as NPA. So these are some data you need to update also when you're writing the mains. So stressed assets around 12%. Stressed assets include NPA and the restructured loan. Okay, so around 12%. So this is of all banks, and this is a case of public sector bank. And NPAs are consistently and constantly increasing. Okay, so if you see Jan 2012, NPA was around 2.7%. So from Jan 2012 to this 2018 Jan, it increased consistently. Okay, you can write one point there: causes of NPA. Causes of increase in NPA, whatever it is, you can write there. Causes of NPA. First one, slowdown in domestic and global economy. Slowdown in domestic and global economy. This was actually asked as a mains question before. Slowdown in domestic and global economy. Second, excessive lending by banks during boom phase. Excessive lending by banks during boom phase. That is before the subprime crisis. Okay, before 2008, that subprime crisis, excessive lending by banks. Then you can write defective credit appraisal system of borrowers by the banks. Defective credit appraisal system of borrowers by the banks. Next point, policy paralysis. Policy paralysis, especially between 2011 to 14, during this time. And in 2014 mains exam, this was actually an essay. Policy paralysis was an actually essay question. Next one, high interest rates. I've told you during this time inflation was so high. On one side, RBI was consistently increasing the repo, okay, or the policy rate. On the other side, government is actually increasing the expenditure also. So the interest rate was so high during this time. That is also one of the reason. Okay, next reason, I'll explain this point. High leverage ratio. High leverage ratio. That means you are taking loan more. Okay, so high leverage ratio. So leverage ratio means you can write there what is leverage ratio. Leverage ratio is actually debt to equity. Debt divided by equity. Okay, for example, let's suppose there are two companies, A and B. Now A and B, there are two companies. So both company invested 10 lakh rupee. Okay, both company invested 10 lakh rupee, and both company it made a profit of 3 lakh. Okay, this 10 lakh is completely equity. That means completely invested by the owner, and this 10 lakh is divided. Okay, like 5 lakh is the owners or the equity, you can say owners money, and then 5 lakh debt. Okay, that means they have borrowed from the bank, let's say at 10% interest. Okay, so this is loan at 10% interest. Both companies invested the same. Now both companies got a profit of, let's say, 3 lakh. Both companies got the profit of 3 lakh. Now if you see the profit of 3 lakh, what percentage when it comes to company A, what percentage profit is there? Can you say what percentage of 10 lakh is 3 lakh? 30%, right? So can I say company A have 30% return with respect to their capital? Now if you see company B, from this 3 lakh, 5 lakh you have taken at 10% interest. So how much you need to pay? 50,000 you need to pay as the interest. Okay, so interest is 50,000. Now 3 lakh profit is there. So 3 lakh minus 50,000, you will be getting 2,50,000. Correct, no? So you will be getting 2,50,000. So what percentage it is? 2 lakh 50%. What percentage profit is there?
25%.
No, not 25%. You have to see from their investment with respect to, here this 30% is with respect to their investment. 10 lakh is the investment. Here only 5 lakh is the investment. So if you consider it was the investment, what they have invested 5 lakh. And if you see the profit 2 lakh 50,000. So that is around 50%.
50%.
Right?
Yes.
So what you can understand from here is more the debt. Okay, one more example I'll tell you. Instead of this 5, if you take this example, let's say 2 lakh is the equity and let's say 8 lakh is the debt, and at that same interest rate 10%. So here also you got 3 lakh profit. Okay, because 10 lakh is the investment, you got 3 lakh profit. Out of this 3 lakh, how much you need to pay as the interest? 80,000, right? You need to pay 80,000 as the interest. So how much is left out? 2 lakh 20,000 is left out. So now 2 lakh you invested, you see more than 100% profit is there, greater than 100% profit is there. So what the companies will do? Companies will go for debt rather than equity. So this is what you mean by debt to equity ratio. You got it? More debt. This is what the high leverage ratio. The high leverage ratio is actually one of the reason for increase in NPA, because companies get more profit in terms of their investment. The profit percentage is so high. See here only 30% if you invest from your side. Here it is more than 100%. So the companies will go for this option. So that is why high leverage ratio. You can write in bracket high leverage ratio. It is also known as capital gearing. Capital gearing. You will see this term also, capital gearing. Okay. But in this company, if you take the case of loss, if there is a loss, let's say, or low profit, if you talk about low profit, then let's say, what is the, let's say 50,000, okay, you got only 50,000 profit. So can you say what will be the return in terms of percentage for company A if the return is 50,000? Company A, same case only. What is the return for company A? 10 lakh is investment, so 50,000 means how much? 5%, right? Yes or no? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if in case low profit, when we discussed about 3 lakh, it was 30%, but if it is only 50,000, then 5% profit for company A. What about company B? Company B, 5 lakh equity and 5 lakh loan. So this 5 lakh at 10%, and for this you need to pay 50,000 interest, right? Now your profit is only 50,000. So this 50,000 you will be paying as interest. So what is the profit in terms of percentage? Can you tell me? There is no profit, right? Here there is no profit for this company. But this company is having 5% profit. This company is having no profit. Further, if it moves towards loss, in this situation, the loss of company B will be much more. So what I'm saying is, in case if there is a profit, okay, if there is a profit, it is good. This high leverage ratio will further increase the profit. In case of loss, it will increase the loss also. That is the issue with leverage ratio. Okay, so you can write there, leverage ratio increase risk of the company. It increase the risk of the company. It shows the weakness of balance sheet of company. It shows the weakness of balance sheet of company. It shows the weakness of balance sheet of company, and it is known as what? Balance sheet syndrome. Balance sheet syndrome. Okay, so balance sheet syndrome means it is actually one of the most important sign of weakness. High debt or high leverage ratio. So when I am talking about high debt or high leverage ratio, it is showing the weakness of the balance sheet of the company, and that's what you term as balance sheet syndrome. This was also asked as a prelims question before. Okay, now actually in 2017 economic survey there was a term used regarding that also. In that year question was there, twin balance sheet syndrome. Twin balance sheet syndrome. Okay, so you can write what is twin balance sheet syndrome. Weak balance sheet of corporate. First part of this is weak balance sheet of corporate. That's what I've explained now. Why weak balance sheet? Because of high leverage ratio. Okay, so weak balance sheet of corporates and banks, both are weak. Banks, especially PSBs. Okay, why? The reason is same, right? The reason for both is same. Why the balance sheet of PSBs is weak? Because of NPAs. And why NPA is there? Because of this high leverage ratio of the corporate. Their balance sheet is also weak because of high leverage ratio or high debt. Okay, so twin balance sheet means the problem with the balance sheet of both the corporates as well as the PSBs or the banks. Okay, this much is okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now write next term, financial repression. Financial repression. It refers to compelling banks to lend in low yielding securities. Low yielding securities means GSEC. You can write in bracket GSEC. And why, how, I have told you before when we discussed about one instrument of monetary policy, okay, that this is an instrument which compel the banks to lend to government. Which instrument was that?
SLR.
Yeah, SLR. When we discussed about SLR, I have told you this is the instrument which is actually used by RBI to compel the banks to lend to government, because under SLR you can maintain in terms of rupee or gold or the GSEC, right? Rupee no return, gold calculated at the constant price, so you prefer GSEC. So if increase in SLR means you have to add more GSEC, so more GSEC means you are actually lending to government. Okay, so that is what financial repression means. It refers to compelling banks to lend in low yielding securities, for example government securities under SLR, or in high risk areas, High risk areas means, can you give me an example?
Real estate.
No. Real estate
Those two partners.
nobody will force you to lend in real estate, right? The forcing means it is priority sector lending.
PSL.
Yeah, priority sector lending. Yeah. So high risk areas like priority sector lending. In 2015, economic survey used double financial repression. Okay, so double financial repression. On one side related to assets, okay, and on the other side related to liability. So you can see here assets means firstly SLR and related to priority sector lending. That is what we have discussed now. So on the asset side it is actually affected. Liability side, if you see, what is the liability of the bank? It is a deposits, right? We have discussed it already when we discussed about the balance sheet of banks. So liability side, it is mainly deposit, and deposits are actually, I'm talking about this 2015, double financial repression. So during this time, deposits decreased. I have also told you why during this time deposits decreased when we discussed about inflation. The inflation was high. When inflation is high, why deposits are reducing? Because real interest rate, right? Real interest rate is decreasing. So when real interest rate is decreasing, deposits are decreasing. So now it compel the bank to pay more interest, right? So it will actually force the bank to pay more interest, then only deposits will come. So that lead to, here there is a shortage of liquidity. So actually you can say deposits are decreasing, shortage of liquidity. So bank will pay more interest. Pay more interest. You understood? So liability side and asset side. This is what we have already discussed now. In this case, financial repression. But when the inflation is high, you will face repression from this side also, because deposits will come down. Deposits will come down because, you know, real interest rate will come down. For example, your interest rate is, let's say, 10%. Okay, but inflation is there 10%. Nobody will deposit in bank, because effectively there is no return. Done? Okay, next topic.